This is the ultimate motorcycle countdown, a journey across the entire 20th century. 15 machines that didn't just make history, they're the reason you started riding in the first place. No computers, no traction control, no mercy, just steel, noise, heat, and danger. Let's start with the decade of rebellion, the 50s. Number 15, the 1956 BSA Gold Star DBD 34. This is the quintessential cafe racer. If you walked into a cafe in 1956, this was the bike everyone stared at. It was a 500 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine. Why does it destroy modern bikes? Because it has a pure purpose. It came with clip-on handlebars and a swept-back exhaust right from the factory. It made 42 horsepower, which sounds low, but the bike weighed nothing. It was a race bike with lights. It had a tweaky carburetor that hated traffic. It had a clutch that required a gorilla's grip. But when you got it out on the open road and hit 100 miles per hour, the ton, it sang a song that no modern bike can replicate. It vibrates, it leaks, and it requires a ritual to start. But it is beautiful. Original price? About $850. Today, you are looking at a range of $20,000 to $35,000 depending on the condition and authenticity. This is no longer a machine, it is a collector's item. But if you think a British single was wild, wait until you see the American V-twin that saved an entire company and nearly blew the doors off the 50s. Number 14, the 1957 Harley-Davidson Sportster XL. This is the bike that saved Harley-Davidson. Before this, Harleys were big, slow, lumbering flatheads. Then came the Sportster. It featured an 883 cubic centimeter overhead valve V-twin. It was the Iron Head. It was built to fight the British invasion. It was raw, crude, and fast. It destroys modern cruisers because it was actually a sport bike, hence the name. It was lighter than the big dressers. It was the hot rod of the 50s. It stripped away all the luxury and left just the engine and the wheels. It vibrates so hard your vision blurs, but that is just the bike shaking your soul awake. Original price, $1,100. Today, you are looking at a range of $15,000 to $25,000, depending on the condition and authenticity. If you're enjoying this video, please click like and subscribe to our channel. This is how you support us. Done that? Then let's get back to it. But if you think the Sportster shook your soul, the next bike tried to take your life. Number 13, the 1952 Vincent Black Shadow. This is it, the world's first superbike. The Vincent Black Shadow was a machine from the future. It featured a 998 cubic centimeter V-twin. The engine was painted black, not for style, but to hide the dirt and dissipate heat. It didn't have a frame. The engine hung from a spine, and the suspension bolted directly to the engine. It made 55 horsepower. It could do 125 miles per hour. In 1952, that is faster than most cars could go in 1980. It destroys modern bikes because of its mystique. It had a speedometer the size of a dinner plate. It was terrifyingly fast and famously expensive. Hunter S. Thompson famously wrote, "If you rode the Black Shadow at top speed for any length of time, you would almost certainly die." Original price, $1,200. Back then that W, but now, one recently sold for $125,000. But maybe the 50s are too old school for you. Maybe you want the decade where the Japanese arrived and changed everything. Number 12, the 1969 Kawasaki H1 Mach 3. The Widowmaker, the Blue Streak. This was a 500 cubic centimeter, three-cylinder two-stroke. Kawasaki wanted to make the fastest accelerating bike in the world, so they ignored handling, they ignored brakes, and they just focused on the engine. It made 60 horsepower. It had a power band like a light switch. Nothing, explosion. It would wheelie in the first 3 gears. The frame hinged in the middle during corners. The brakes were useless. It destroys modern bikes because it is dangerous. Modern bikes protect you. The H1 tried to kill you. The sound of that triple two-stroke scream and the cloud of blue smoke is the smell of fear and adrenaline. And that did not come with a high price tag, only $999. Cheap speed, Today, you'll have to break the bank for it? You are looking at a range of $18,000 to $30,000 depending on the condition and authenticity. Number 11, the 1960 Triumph Bonneville T120, the icon, the legend, Steve McQueen's favorite ride. The Bonnie was the peak of British engineering before the fall. It featured a 650 cubic centimeter parallel twin with twin carburetors. It was named after the salt flats where Triumph set records. It destroys modern retros because it has perfect proportions. It is tiny. It is narrow. It leaks oil. It marks its territory. But it handles beautifully. It is a dancer. When you kick it over and hear that dry British bark, you know you are riding cool personified. Original price? $1,200. Number 10, the 1969 Honda CB 750, the most important motorcycle of the 20th century. Before this bike, you had a choice: fast and unreliable, British, or slow and reliable, Japanese. Honda gave us both. It had 4 cylinders, it had 4 exhausts, it had an overhead cam, and crucially, it had a disc brake and an electric starter. It didn't leak, it didn't vibrate. It went 125 miles per hour. It destroys modern bikes because it is the original. Every modern sport bike traces its DNA to this machine. It killed the British industry overnight. It is a smooth, reliable, magnificent piece of engineering that you can still ride across the country today. Original price? $1,495. But the 60s were just the warm-up. In the 70s, the engines got bigger, and the Italians joined the fight with pure style. Quick pit stop. We are halfway through the century, and I need to know, which of these legends would you actually park in your garage? Drop a comment below and let me know. I want to see which decade rules the comment section. The 60s were wild, the 70s were violent, and the machines built in this decade still terrify riders today. Number 9, the 1974 Ducati 750 Supersport Green Frame. Back in the day, every rider had the same 2 dreams: an Italian girlfriend, and if that didn't happen, you settled for the next best thing, this Italian masterpiece, the Holy Grail of Bologna. This is the most collectible Ducati ever made. Why green frame? Because in a rush to homologate the bike for racing, the factory painted the frames of the first batch in a strange metallic green color that they had lying around. They only made 401 of them in 1974. It features the legendary bevel drive L-twin engine with desmodromic valves, mechanically closed, no springs to float at high RPM. It was effectively the race bike that Paul Smart rode to victory at Imola in '72, just with a license plate taped to it. It has no turn signals, no air filters, no electric start. It destroys modern Ducatis because it is mechanical art. It doesn't have plastic fairings covering the engine. The engine is the styling. It has a glass fuel tank strip so you can see the fuel level. The sound of those Conti mufflers is like thunder rolling through the Dolomites. It is raw, heavy, and glorious. Original price? $3,200. Today, you are looking at over $150,000. But if Ducati built the most beautiful Italian of the decade, Kawasaki was about to build the one that ruled the streets, a bike so brutal it made Honda panic. Number 8, the 1973 Kawasaki Z1, the king of the road, the New York Steak. When Honda launched the CB 750, Kawasaki was stunned. They had been working on a 750 too, but Honda beat them to it. So they went back to the drawing board with a secret project codenamed New York Steak. The goal? To serve up the biggest, juiciest cut of meat the world had ever seen. The result was the Z1. It had a 903 cubic centimeter double overhead cam engine. Honda only had a single cam. The Z1 made 82 horsepower. It was the fastest production bike in the world, capable of 130 miles per hour. It destroys modern retro bikes because it has presence. It is a big, heavy, muscular beast. The engine is over-engineered to a ridiculous degree. Drag racers found they could pump it up to 1,300 cc without breaking it. It introduced the ducktail rear styling that defined the 70s. It represents the moment Kawasaki decided they weren't just going to compete, they were going to dominate. This bike came on the market for $1,900, But if the Z1 was pure muscle, the next bike was pure chaos. Number 7. The 1973 Yamaha RD350. The giant killer, the hooligan, the two-stroke terror. This was a small bike by the standards of the day, a mere 350 cubic centimeter air-cooled two-stroke twin. But do not let the displacement fool you for a second. This bike earned the nickname Giant Killer because it routinely embarrassed 750 cubic centimeter four-strokes at stoplights. It was the bike that taught an entire generation how to ride fast, and usually exactly how to crash. It was light, agile, and featured a reed valve engine that revved to the moon. This was the first machine to bring Yamaha's torque induction to the masses. It was a marketing term, sure, but it worked. It smoothed out the power band just enough to make it rideable before kicking you in the pants at 6,000 RPM. It encouraged you to do wheelies. In fact, due to the short wheelbase and explosive power, it was almost impossible to keep the front wheel on the ground in first or second gear. It was loud, it was smoky, it was absolutely obnoxious in the best way possible. A modern 300cc sport bike is a polite, fuel-injected commuter that meets the European emission standards. The RD350 is a race bike. It spits unburnt fuel. It screams with a high-pitched wail that pierces your eardrums. It vibrates through the handlebars. It is pure two-stroke magic that smells like burnt two-stroke oil and bad decisions. It represents a time when fun was more important than the environment. Original price? A staggeringly low $839. It was cheap speed for the masses, but the 70s were ending. The era of the naked bike was fading, the 80s were coming, and with the 80s came plastic. We wrapped the bikes in aerodynamics, we added liquid cooling. Number 6. The 1985 Suzuki GSXR 750. The bike that changed everything. Again, the slingshot. Before this bike, sport bikes were heavy. The Honda Interceptor and Yamaha FZ 750 were fast, but they weighed over 500 pounds. Suzuki decided to change the rules. They built a bike for the track and then put lights on it. The GSXR 750 used an aluminum frame, a first for a mass-produced bike. It used a unique cooling system called SAX, Suzuki Advanced Cooling System, which used oil to cool the cylinder heads, saving the weight of water pumps and radiators. The result? It weighed just 388 pounds dry. That was nearly 100 pounds lighter than the competition. It destroys modern bikes because it is raw. It has dual round headlights that look like endurance racers from the Suzuka 8 Hours. It feels fragile, twitchy, and race-bred. It rattles, it shakes. But in a corner, it is magic. It is the grandfather of every modern track day weapon. Back in the day, this bike costs $4,500. But for that same price, you could buy this other Japanese legend. Number 5. The 1984 Kawasaki GPZ 900R, the original Ninja. The bike Tom Cruise rode in Top Gun while racing an F-14 Tomcat. This bike didn't just appear, it split the timeline of motorcycling in two. Before the Ninja, fast bikes were big, air-cooled dinosaurs. Kawasaki dropped a meteor with the GPZ 900R. It was the first liquid-cooled inline-four superbike from Japan. It moved the cam chain to the side of the engine to keep it narrow. It used the engine as a stressed member of the frame. It made 115 horsepower, but the real headline? It was the first production bike to top 150 miles per hour. It destroys modern bikes because of the nostalgia. It looks fast standing still with its firecracker red paint. It proved that liquid cooling was the future. It is a movie star you can actually own. It is still fast today, still comfortable, and still turns heads faster than a modern Ducati. Original price? $4,400. But for the legend of the 80s, we have to look at Honda. Number 4. The 1987 Honda RC30, the Holy Grail. The VFR 750R. This wasn't built for profit, it was built for glory. Honda wanted to win the newly formed World Superbike Championship, so the Honda Racing Corporation, HRC, hand-built this machine. Rumor has it that Honda lost money on every single unit sold, despite the astronomical price tag. Let's look at the specs. Titanium connecting rods, on a production bike, gear-driven camshafts that whine like a jet turbine, a hand-welded aluminum fuel tank, a single-sided swing arm designed to change tires in seconds during endurance races. The 360-degree Big Bang crank firing order gave it a drone that sounded like a World War II fighter plane. It made 112 horsepower, but it put it down with surgical precision. It won the first 2 World Superbike titles back-to-back. It destroys modern bikes because it is bespoke. It feels like a Swiss watch. Every bolt, every washer, every casting screams quality. It is widely considered the finest Japanese motorcycle ever made. If you own one, you don't own a bike. You own a piece of HRC's soul. Original price? $15,000. That's a lot of money now. Imagine 40 years ago. We've ridden through the rebellion of the 50s, the innovation of the 60s, and the muscle of the 70s and 80s. But nothing prepares you for what comes next. But before we drive into that, please like this video and join our tribe by subscribing. The 1990s. The era of the hyperbike, the era of design perfection, the end of the century. This was when bikes became faster than thought itself. Number 3. The 1992 Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade. Light is right. This wasn't just a slogan, it was a crusade. It was a declaration of war against obesity. Before 1992, if you wanted a 1,000 cubic centimeter bike, you got a heavy train like the Yamaha FZR 1000 or the Suzuki GSX-R 1100. These bikes were powerful, sure, but they were massive. They weighed nearly 500 pounds. They were great for straight lines, but wrestling them through a corner was like trying to turn a cruise ship. Enter Tadao Baba, Honda's Maverick project leader. He looked at the competition and said, no, he had a different idea. He didn't want more horsepower, he wanted less mass. He wanted the explosive power of a leader bike packed into the tiny, agile chassis of a 600. The result was the Fireblade. It featured a unique, custom displacement 893 cubic centimeter engine. It wasn't a full 1,000, but it didn't need to be. Why? Because the bike weighed just 405 pounds dry. That was 75 pounds lighter than its rivals. Think about that. That is the equivalent of carrying a passenger. By removing that weight, Honda created a missile. Baba was so obsessed with handling that he did something controversial. He fitted a 16-inch front wheel instead of the industry standard 17. Why? To make it steer faster, to make it twitchy. He famously used a hand gesture during development, a quick whoosh upwards with his hand, to describe how he wanted the bike to accelerate and handle. He wanted it to feel weightless. It destroys modern bikes because it is purely analog. Modern superblades have wheelie control, slide control, and 6-axis IMUs to keep you safe. The original Fireblade has a carburetor and a throttle connected directly to the rear tire. There is no computer to save you. It flicked into corners so fast it actually scared journalists at the press launch. It felt like it was reading your mind. It created the modern blueprint for the leader bike. It proved that weight was the enemy and lightness was God. Original price? $8,000. A bargain for a revolution. But beauty is subjective. Performance is objective. What if you want a bike that is arguably the most beautiful machine ever created? Number 2, the 1994 Ducati 916. Back in the day, if you were still recovering from the heartbreak of never landing that Italian girlfriend, this was the consolation prize that made everything okay. Because this wasn't just a motorcycle, this was the Mona Lisa of internal combustion, the most beautiful motorcycle ever made, period, end of discussion. Designed by the Michelangelo of motorcycling, Massimo Tamburini, this machine changed the way we look at bikes forever. Just look at it. This isn't a machine, it is sculpture. It was so visually significant that it was later exhibited at the Guggenheim Museum in New York as a masterpiece of modern art alongside Picasso and Kandinsky. Let's talk about the details that defined a generation. It featured underseat exhausts. In '94, this was alien technology. It cleaned up the lines and influenced every other manufacturer, from Honda to Yamaha, for the next decade. It had a gorgeous single-sided swing arm designed solely to show off the lightweight 3-spoke wheel and make tire changes faster during races. The headlights were narrow cat eyes that looked predatory. It looked like sex on wheels. But do not make the mistake of thinking this was a delicate flower. It was a weapon. It won World Superbike Championships for fun. It made Carl Fogarty a god. At its heart beat the 916 cubic centimeter Desmo Quattro L twin engine. It didn't scream like a Japanese 4, it thumped. It roared with a deep, resonant Italian passion that you can feel in your chest. And at idle, it had the signature rattle of the dry clutch, clack, 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 a sound that is music to the ears of the faithful. It destroys modern bikes because of design purity. Modern bikes are jagged, messy, and covered in aerodynamic winglets that look like mustache hairs. The 916 is smooth, elegant, and organic. It flows like liquid red metal. Even today, 30 years later, it looks like it is from the future. It is the gold standard by which all other motorcycles are judged. Original price? $14,500. It was expensive, but can you really put a price on perfection? This should have been the finish line. The machine's so flawless you don't go further, but what comes next is too wild to skip. Number 1, the 1999 Suzuki GSX 1300 or Hayabusa, the king of speed. The end of the war, the unrestricted monster. In 1999, Suzuki decided to end the speed wars once and for all. They built a bike designed to hunt. They named it Hayabusa, the Japanese peregrine falcon. Why? Because the peregrine falcon dives at 200 miles per hour and eats blackbirds. A direct dig at the Honda CBR 1100 Blackbird. It looked like a melted candle. It was aerodynamic perfection. It had a 1,300 cubic centimeter engine, making 175 horsepower. It hit 194 miles per hour. It was so fast that the European governments panicked. They threatened to ban high-performance motorcycles entirely. To save the industry, the manufacturers agreed to a gentleman's agreement, starting with the year 2000 models, limiting all future bikes to 186 miles per hour. This makes the 1999 model the Holy Grail. It is the last of the Mohicans, the last truly unrestricted hyperbike. It destroys modern bikes because it is the king. It is a missile. It accelerates with a force that rearranges your internal organs. It is the ultimate expression of the 20th century's obsession with speed. It closed the book on the century with a sonic boom. Original price, $10,500. Click on the next video and don't forget to subscribe and like to join the tribe.